In a moment, we'll say hello to Rio Ferdinand. We had him just seconds ago, but his line has dropped. While we're waiting for Rio, have you seen the stuff that he's posted on social? He's sitting by the pool with Joel Bayer's there as well. Have you seen him and his gang out there?
Stephen Housen, I think his name is.
Who's Stephen Housen?
That's one of his other colleagues that he works with. Yeah.
He's living the life, isn't he, the boy?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and it's actually quite surprising because you don't really see obviously him on TNT anymore. But he's obviously Rio Ferdinand Presents is flying.
Yeah.
Just sitting down with that Kaka and that big dogs, man.
Yeah, well, he's got one of the reasons we've got him on. He's got another superstar. He's got another superstar on his podcast. I think it comes out tomorrow. Should we say hello to him? I think the line works. Delighted to say we can cross live to the States and speak to the legendary former Man United and England defender, the superstar that is Rio. Look at the big grin on his face. Morning, Rio Ferdinand.
How you doing, guys? You not get the call up to come out, guys?
We come out for the latter stages. We don't bother with the early rounds.
Oh, okay. How you doing? Good to see you, man.
Yeah.
By the way, I love the show. Man.
Oh, how kind of that's very nice of you. Yeah. Very nice. It doesn't. I'll be honest. It doesn't look like you in a traditional American cab.
No, we don't do taxis out here. Sorry, man.
No.
Just got a show at the moment. But no, I'm joking, man. No. You know what? It's all the cars are massive out here. By the way, seriously, it's different. Everything in America's bigger. The food, the drinks, the cars, the lot.
Yeah, Rio, not everything. Right, we'll talk England in just a moment. Where you're in LA, let's find out where you are. You're in LA. What have you been doing tonight?
Yeah, man. Listen, Airbnb have sorted me out with an unbelievable pad out in Beverly Hills. So I'm up in the hills, having a wonderful time. I've brought the podcast out here. I've got Joe, I've got Steve, my co-host on the podcast, and we just got some wild guests coming through the house on a regular basis. So shooting the pod out here, doing loads of content. I'm doing the Fox show with James Corden as well after hours.
Oh, have you just done that with him? Is that where you're coming back from?
Yeah, I've just finished that now. I'm going back to the villa after that. But the show was great, man.
Oh,
It was good, man. We had some good times.
And I understand you got a superstar on your podcast. Is it tomorrow? Another big name coming out?
Yeah, we've got the one and only Mr. Thierry Henry, man. So he's can't wait for him. He's been brilliant. I mean, I've been speaking to him for a while, trying to get him on, and he's obviously a busy guy. But we finally got him. And we sit there and we listen and we just chop it up, man. And that's what we do. We create a space, a really comfortable environment where the guys trust us, and they open up and we get a side of them that we don't normally see when they're a little bit uptight sometimes in live settings.
Did you have to buy him a £500 coat hanger?
What are you talking about?
There's a story years ago, I think when he joined Sky, that one of his demands on his rider was a £500 coat hanger. Do you not remember that?
No, listen, man. Between friends, there ain't no riders, man. He just turned up, he had a cup of coffee, and that was it. He's chilled, easy.
Good.
I tell you what, Rio, that conversation about Ronaldo is going to be interesting on that part. I can't wait to hear that little story.
Do you know what? That's probably now, after what's gone on this week, it's probably one of the key talking points, and we're going to pump that out because I think that, everyone gets as a perception of Thierry and the way he sees Cristiano Ronaldo, but I think he kind of puts it to bed in a good way, as he does when he talks on the pod.
Well, let's get your view on that, actually, because Bentley and I were talking about that in great detail on yesterday's show, about whether or not he should start, how much game time he should have. Because it's Cristiano Ronaldo, I think there's so much pressure on the manager, Roberto Martinez, to pick him, to start him, etc. What's your view on a situation like that? What do you do, Rio?
Well, Roberto Martinez is paid the money to make this decision, and I think it's the way that he handles that it will be key. I think if he was going to attempt to kind of take Cristiano Ronaldo out of the team, I think it's all about the narrative. I think it's all about approaching him and going, listen, if he thinks this is how I'll do it. We've got a better chance of winning it for you coming on with 30 minutes to go when the opposition are tired, when their limbs are all weary, lactic acid is building up in all these players' legs, and they see Cristiano Ronaldo warming up on the side, and you come on and terrorise them and capitalise on that in the latter stages of the games. Do you think anyone's going to be bothered when you lift that trophy as our captain? No. So here we go. You're going to start some games, but then some you're not going to start, but that's part of the plan. And at 41 years old, I'm sure that Cristiano would understand that because, listen, we all know, Benny, you're the same. When we were getting older, things weren't working as quickly, as smoothly as they once were. But there's no denying the guy's potent. When the ball drops in the box, if you had three players to the top three players in the world for the ball to drop to, he'd be one of the guys you wanted to drop to even still now because he's that potent. He's got almost 1,000 goals. But listen, if it was down to me, I think I would take that same approach I just mentioned there. I'd pull him in and out of games depending on the opponents. and I just have to make sure that I talk to him and make sure he understands that. But one thing I would say when I watched him, I think a lot of blame and a lot of people are pointing the finger at Cristiano. I don't think the actual service into him was great either, by the way, or an opportunity to put his way often. I saw quite a few options to play the ball forward, didn't take them options up. And I think if you're going to have him in your team, you've got to find him as often as you can. And they've got great players who can do that.
Yeah, they've got a great midfield. Rio, I've got to speak to you about England then. Obviously, of course, the result the other day. Really good second half performance. First and foremost, what did you make of the performance? And some people are saying it's the best half of football they've seen England play in years.
Well, what I was really impressed with, there's two things. The turnaround in the second half, and you saw Harry Kane, Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham all come out speaking glowingly about the manager's team talk at halftime. So that's an absolute massive, massive, massive plus, because a manager that's very aggressive, he's punchy, and he ain't going to go out trying to stay in a game. He's going to go out trying to win a game. And if it doesn't happen, he ain't going to be for the want of trying. And the second thing is, he's aggressive substitutions and really decisive substitutions in the second half late on, where normally you see a lot of managers go, we're going to protect this lead. He's saying, no, I've got my foot on their throat and we're going to finish them off. And I love that. And if that's going to be the way we go about this tournament, we're going to have a good time.
I totally agree with you. I said that, actually. Do you think that's the difference between what Southgate would have done and maybe bring on like a Calvin Phillips, a holder, to make sure we didn't lose the game?
Yeah, Southgate and a lot of other managers have done that. And I think that was probably when you're looking back now, it's a great thing having hindsight, but our Achilles heel probably, even though we've got further than any team since '66 in these last couple of tournaments, we still were playing at times, it felt, with the shackles on or the handbrake half up in the critical moments, in the biggest moments for England in these big games. And so with that comes kind of apprehension and a bit of anxiousness when you're watching those games, right? And Benty, you've been in them England squads, yeah? A lot of the guys in them teams and as a unit, as a team, as well as individuals, we were scared to lose games. And this team in that second half just looked like a team that were just freed up. And that bodes well for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think going forward, when you bring on the likes of Rashford, I mean, I would have started Rashford, but his impact coming off the bench, I thought was absolutely incredible. But from a defensive standpoint, Rio, I thought, me personally, I thought he got the two centre-halves wrong. Like, John Stones, I know how good he's been, but I would have started Mark Gahey after the season he's had alongside Konza. What did you make of England defensively, certainly in that first half?
Well, I think he played Stones on the left-hand side to help Nico O'Reilly because he knows him at the club, he's experienced, and just put him on that side. John Stones doesn't really play on the left. So that was going to be a whole new experience for him, and it's more difficult than people probably give it any credit for. Mark Gay has been our mainstay since the last tournament, so I was really shocked that he wasn't playing. I thought it was Mark Gay plus someone else. Konza's had a wonderful season, but I would have played Gay, and after this season, I'd probably played Gay and Konza. But what I would say, people were saying, our defence were really bad and whatnot. They scored 2 goals. Sometimes you have to give credit to the attacking team, you know. There were 2 really, really well-worked goals with quality. So I look at it and go, there's improvements to be made, but I'm not going to really get out of my prime and go, oh, how bad they were, because I don't think it was that case. They had 2 really high-quality moments, and they capitalised.
Yeah. It's interesting you say you put Stones on the left of the centre-half pairing to help out O'Reilly, and I totally understand that. But do you think it comes at a cost? Because we weren't really using Anthony Gordon a lot in the first half. Everything seemed to be going down the right with Noni Madueke, and every time that Kane picked up the ball quite deep and he's turning, obviously he's going to turn and use his right foot to flick it out to the right. So whilst I totally agree with you that Stones was there to help out O'Reilly, it does come at a cost, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's down to Stones playing on the left. I just think that's the way the game and the style of the game played out. And different games are going to bring different pictures for players. And then in another game, the left-hand side will get more of the ball. And I think you can have a game plan, but the game will play out the way it naturally does. But I just look at it and go, 2, 3, 4 years ago, if we were sitting there and going, do you know what? Marcus Rashford and Saka are going to come on and replace our 2 wingers in a tournament game, we would have all laughed and gone, no chance. They're our guaranteed starters. Them boys are going to win us this tournament. That shows you the depth that we've got in this squad, and I think that makes us a scary opposition for opponents.
So in the next game against Ghana then, because again, second half was fantastic, what do you want to see? What do you think needs to improve? I know it was a fantastic game, the first one, but what needs to improve, do you think, to go to another level against Ghana? And certainly the way we progress for the tournament.
Yeah, I think we just need to start better, start well, get the rhythm of the game from the off, be aggressive, be very aggressive against them. And again, it's not about the team selection, really. I think if he changes the wingers, then great. It's about a real just harmonising that squad and making sure we understand we've all got a role to play. And like we said, Anthony Gordon started. He gets the buzz in the beginning, but then who walks off the pitch feeling like elated and being a million miles tall? Marcus Rashford, because he's had a chance to come on and he's impacted the game. It could be the other way round in the next one. And we just got to make sure that everyone stays in tune, everyone stays engaged, and it ain't necessarily about who starts, it's how we finish.
Yeah. Benny made a really good point on yesterday's show about Harry Kane saying it's the most fresh he's ever seen him at the start of a tournament. What did you make about his performance, Rio?
Yeah, I agree. And there's many times he's come into a tournament, he's been, listen, he's our talisman, he's our goal scorer, he's the main man, he's the captain, and performance-wise hasn't really materialised at times. But again, that was the nearest to the Bayern Munich Harry Kane I've seen in an England shirt, and I was just delighted to see it. If we're going to do anything and we're going to win, man, Harry Kane has to be firing. Simple as that. He's our world-class talent, our genuine world-class player. He's the captain, he's the main man. But again, I think added to that, you've got Jude Bellingham. I think a lot of people were, he shouldn't play, he shouldn't do this. Listen, man, he's a moments guy. He wants the biggest moments. He wants to be the match winner. He wants to be the main man for England. And he's got the personality, the character, and most of all, he's got the quality and the mindset. So Jude Bellingham is the man as well, man.
Listen, and there's no disrespect to the other players, right? But do you think Harry Kane, like no disrespect to Ollie Watkins or Ivan, I like them both, but do you think Harry Kane's probably the only player in the squad that we just can't replace? Like if he was to get injured, that the levels will come down a little bit. And again, that's no disrespect to the other players, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think you've got the option of playing Jude up there. Jude done that when they won the treble at Real Madrid. He was the furthest man forward, so we could do that. I don't see Tuchel shying away from that. But I would say as well that Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins will bring something different and something that Harry Kane doesn't possess in their games. They have different attributes that will be very, very good and very positive for the team as well. So I like the fact that they're different from Harry. Listen, you're not going to find another Harry Kane with the quality that he's got in world football, let alone within our squad. So that's just natural. That's just normal. But these guys, Ollie Watkins showed in the last tournament, he can come on and be an impact and he have an effect. So we've got them guys, and the more players that, again, I keep stressing this, that understand their role within the squad. I may not be a starter, but I can have an impact and help us win a trophy for England.
Usually I'd say, who do you think is going to win it? But obviously you're going to say England. If it's not England, who are your second favourites?
If it's not England, my second favourites after the first round of games will be France. Again, they were the same as us. Started a bit sloppy, not sloppy, but started a little bit offbeat, but then worked it out in the second half. And they're probably the only team that I look at and go in the attacking areas. They've probably got a bit more than us.
Yeah, agree.
Everyone else, I'd say we're probably above, and it's especially with the depth we've got. But listen, man, everyone's talking about Mbappe, and rightly so. He scored 2 goals. But Michael Olise, if he's not on that pitch, Mbappe don't score them goals because he's passing, his awareness, his elusiveness. Before the first goal Kylian Mbappe scored, please just go back and watch his movement to get on the ball, and then he shakes and bakes a defender, and then the pass and the weight of it. Beautiful.
Shake and bake.
Rio, we got to go to a little break. I'm led to believe that we've got you for the next 2 hours. Is that right?
Yeah, well, on another day, maybe. I'm going out on the town, mate.
What time is it now? What are you doing tonight? Where are you off to?
It's 10:30, is it? Yeah. It's 10:30 coming up now, and I'm just going out to a restaurant to get some food because I've not eaten yet. So I'm gonna have some food, and there will be a couple of drinks on the table to wash that down with, no doubts.
I'm jealous. I used to go to LA every year.
Oh, I bet.
I'm jealous.
Where are you not going to be when you come out here? We can link up.
We fly out to New York on July the 4th, and then we're off to Miami. Hopefully, if it's England, Brazil, and Miami, we're off to Miami for a few days, then back to New York.
What a shame, guys. What a shame.
Are you about?
He's in LA, he's on the West Coast.
I'm in LA, man. I'm in Beverly Hills. I'm in Hollywood, baby. That's where we are.
I hope it rains. Rio, I really genuinely appreciate your time, man. You're looking great. Thanks so much, pal.
Cheers, Rio.
Lovely to speak to you guys. Keep doing your thing with the show. Love it.
Likewise as well. And good luck with the Thierry Henry podcast. Thanks, pal.
Thank you. Good luck, man.
Thanks,
Take care. Good night.
That will be a great podcast. Don't forget to check out Rio's podcast with Thierry Henry. I think it drops tomorrow. It's going to be sensational.
Drops tomorrow.